All of us have heard of the footprint, right? CO2 footprint. But how many of you have heard about handprint? Handprint. Raise a hand. How many of you have heard? Okay, a couple of hands. This will change in the next few minutes. Our next speaker has taught life cycle assessment and handprinting at Harvard for the last 25 years. He directs SHINE, the Sustainability and Health Initiative for Net Positive Enterprises at MIT, and he serves as the Vice President of Life Cycle Sustainability at the Green Building Alliance, with whom he helps small and medium enterprises and communities to reduce their footprints and create handprints. He created Environmental Impact Academy and LCA training in it. And by the way, something that all of us in a few minutes will have in common with Dalai Lama is that we will be taught by the same person these next principles. Sounds good? All right, somebody's excited. So, please, give a huge round of applause to Gregory Norris. Welcome, thank you.
It's so energizing to be here this week with all of you. A big thank you to Impact Day and to everyone coming out for this, and also to my friends at Environmental Impact Academy. I didn't create it, I just collaborated with them, and you'll hear a little bit about them in a moment. And you can see them in the expo hall if you haven't already. My mission with you here right now and for the next few minutes is to share with you how any person can launch and every person can participate in waves of action to heal our planet. So our story has three parts. There's the foundational ideas of footprints and handprints. We'll cover that. Then I want to talk about getting in touch with the passion for this action to launch these waves. And finally, Save Waves over there is about the resources. How do we tap resources to get this done at scale that's unmistakable? First, let's just think about how do we frame sustainability environmentally. I think it's true for all of us. It's actually true for this conference. If you look in the website, the people at Impact Day are doing everything they can to understand and reduce, as they tell you, the harmful environmental impacts of this conference. So clearly, that's how we frame sustainability. Figure out what part of the mess I'm causing and find ways to reduce it. Absolutely essential. And it seems to be the whole story for sustainability. If you think about it, the definition of footprints is meant to be fully comprehensive. We have our scope 1 and scope 2, that's our near, direct, and close indirect footprints. And then we have extended impacts all through the supply chains upstream and down. So how could anything be missing? Well, think about it for a minute. Every product has a footprint. This conference, no matter how vegan our food is and how much we figure out sustainable transportation to get here, this conference still has a footprint. And if you really are honest, you remember that every day of our lives, we all have the privilege of supporting ourselves with consumption that has a footprint. And after doing a few years of life cycle assessment, I basically came to this question that maybe many of you have grappled with. Would the planet actually be better off without me? And I started asking my students at Harvard this question, when you learn LCA, now that you understand it, you understand that everything has a footprint. How many of you feel this way? And they almost all raise their hands. That's an incredible sense of guilt to those of us who pay attention to these things. But it's worse than that, because this guilt also implies a kind of adversarial relationship between us and everyone else. If the planet's better off without me, then you're definitely better off without me. And I'm better off without you, or at least we can all agree we're better off without them. And you have the problem that solving poverty is actually raising the human footprint, and even this perspective that's quite widespread that the worst thing you can do for the environment is bring another human being into this, into life. So that's what we're dealing with our footprint-only perspective on sustainability. Can anything possibly be missing? Turns out there is. There's ways that our presence affects the human footprint, affects the planet, outside of our footprint. And I'll share that with you. But first, I think a helpful analogy here is, it's like we're trying to solve a collectively caused challenge. We're trying to, overcome a collectively caused challenge. Our footprints, the human footprint on the planet, is similar to trying to solve the challenge of a potluck meal, making sure that everyone at the potluck has delicious food to eat. Now, the two rules, of course, are bring something delicious and don't eat more than you bring. If we all follow those rules, there's abundance of delicious food for everyone. Our approach on sustainability right now is really saying, everybody minimize how much food you eat, which is great, but we're kind of forgetting to talk about bring something delicious. Bring something helpful and healing for the planet. And that's what handprints are. So handprints are impacts in the same sustainability units that footprints are in, outside the scope of our own footprint. This can include ways that you help other people or other organizations to reduce their footprint. It can include simple things like planting trees, cleaning up a beach, other kinds of healing actions. It's basically how else are we affecting the potluck besides reducing our consumption. And handprints, importantly, are multidimensional. We have a water handprint, we have a carbon handprint. You can even have a slave labor handprint or a child labor handprint, because we all have footprints on these impact categories. And if you can help somebody reduce their footprint outside the scope of your own, that's a handprint. Now, these things are real, and I'll give you a few examples. First of all, companies that make abatement equipment report the environmental impacts of producing and operating their equipment. That shows up in their footprint. The abatement itself, the benefits for our air, for our climate, from reducing or eliminating these pollutants, they don't show up in the footprint. So that's an obvious addition that we need to take into account. But also think about how when you buy a product, or if you produce a highly efficient product like this shower head, the production of that shower head will displace some other shower head, and if it's an inferior shower head, if you can actually create more benefit than harm by producing this shower head. It depends on what it replaces. It's also the case that life cycles often affect one another. Take, for example, this metal box above the door there. That's called an air curtain. When the door is open, it blows air down, which prevents air from going in and out of the door. And that basically reduces the footprint of the building. It reduces the footprint of the heating and air conditioning system for that device. But nowhere in their environmental reports do they report this obviously huge impact. So footprints are true, but they're not the whole story, thankfully. We also have handprints. And that means that it's at least conceptually possible that you can give more than you take. You could bring more than you eat to the buffet, and we humans can each bring more than we take from the planet. And that also means that our thriving can be good news for somebody else, and their thriving can be good news for us. And I've seen this concept be transformative for some people. This was a workshop I gave a few years ago on handprints, and after I talked about footprints and handprints both, I paused and asked for questions. And one gentleman raised his hand and he said, when you were telling me that I'm a burden on the planet, I wasn't buying it. But after you talked about our handprint, I see what you meant about the footprint. He was willing to own his footprint when he learned that he can also have a handprint. And we've been missing out on this very important aspect of human psychology. Now, the foundation for calculating your footprint and your handprint is life cycle assessment. I want to give two quick shout outs. Erster is a tool that can help you understand your footprint. And our friends at the Environmental Impacts Academy are here to help you learn life cycle assessment. And one idea we had at lunch actually was maybe the Environmental Impact Academy can train some of the interns with this conference to calculate the footprint of this conference and look at ways to continuously reduce it. So that's powerful. Now, that's part one, the foundations. Part two is getting in touch with the inspiration that's going to drive these waves of action. And I first need to give you some bad news that you might not have heard. We know about climate change and so on, but how many people are really in touch with the details of the insect crisis on our planet? I need to give you a little truth here. It's shocking. The sum of human activity on the planet during the last century is suddenly bringing the web of life on which we depend to the brink of collapse. As one example among dozens we could consider, the insect kingdom is collapsing. Insects of all kinds, butterflies, bees, ants, dragonflies, all around the world in every ecosystem are disappearing at astonishing rates. Mayfly populations in the upper Mississippi River basin dropped 52% during just 7 recent years, and they continue to decline. Worldwide, a third of aquatic insects are considered to be threatened with extinction. In the US, 4 species of bumblebees are down to just 4% of what they were in the 1970s, and in California, monarch butterflies, such as shown here, are at 1% of their 1980s numbers. Now, we're on a path to the complete collapse of the insect world in our own lifetimes, and insects are a foundation that holds up entire ecosystems. If most insects disappear, huge fractions of plant and animal life on this earth will die with them. And all this death will fail to even decompose properly because decomposition relies largely on insects. And as for us humans, 90% of flowering plants rely on insects for pollination, and more than half of the human diet comes directly from these plants. Now, virtually nobody alive wants this apocalypse to happen, and many of the solutions we need to avoid this collapse are already available, and many of those would save money. But still, every year, we move closer to the brink. There are some bright spots of action and progress, but the total net picture still, as of today, is getting bleaker every year. And most people still don't even realize our desperate situation. Nobody wants this collapse, and the solutions are available, but we aren't applying them at anything close to the necessary speed and scale. So what can we do? The so-called leaders are honestly failing to lead at this time. So it's up to us. But us, we're kind of like in a crowded dance hall, shifting about with rising anxiety, wishing, needing to dance, but there's no music. We're needing, wanting, craving to work together on this, but not knowing how. So I want to ask you a question. Each one of you, I just want to ask a very simple question. What do you love about this earth? Is there a special place that you would protect so your children or grandchildren could see it after you're gone? Has some species touched your heart? An animal or plant that you want to help protect and nurture if only you knew how? Maybe there's a particular kind of ecosystem that stirs your soul. If so, say so. A few of us have started to ask each other this question, and we're building a simple, free, open website that allows each person's answer to be heard by everyone. There, you can find a growing collection of photographs, paintings, videos, stories, and songs in every language, from young and old, from every corner of the earth. These voices of love and care are inviting and inspiring others to speak up too, until finally, nobody will be left out. In a sudden growing wave, humanity is conducting a global census of human care for the earth. Now, from this, we're learning that everybody, truly everyone, loves something about this planet, just by asking and listening to the answers. We're also finding out that we are members of thousands of global tribes that didn't even know they existed. There are the whale people and the panda people, of course. There's also the bird tribe, the insect tribe, the forest and the mountain tribes. Turns out we love butterflies and fireflies. We even love blowfish and jellyfish. Our tribes are both local and global. You are a member of every tribe that your heart says you are. Explore what human cultures and science have discovered about whatever you love, and contribute what you know. There's no limit to what we can discover together about life on this planet. And when you're ready, you can also find ways to protect what you love. There are things we can do, alone and together, wherever we live, to protect and heal the beings and places that are precious to us. So roll up your sleeves in a local project with somebody who votes differently from you, and make a new friend, and start to heal our fraying communities and societies by healing our fraying planet. And finally, at sunset, tiredly retiring your shovel or equipment for the night, look out over the horizon with your new friend and see this. The work of each of these tribes is more than just inspiration to all of the others. Our local and global efforts are each pulling this planet in the same beautiful direction, just back from the brink. This upwelling of actions by thousands of tribes is the diverse song of human love for life on this earth. So we found our music. It was inside us all along. Now, if you're inspired by this like I am, this idea is basically to show people, show us all, help basically all human beings to show that we do care about something very specially on this earth, and that our care counts and gets counted. The concept is charismatic endpoints. These are things that people already care passionately about, that they're ready to protect. In life cycle assessment, footprints, we talk about ocean acidification and terrestrial eutrophication and things that scientists know are vital for the survival of our ecosystems, but they're not something that's keeping us awake at night. How many of you have heard of a concept called motivational interviewing? Not many. It's a technique that's extremely powerful way to promote behavior change for people when they're ambivalent, when they're not sure, when they have pros and cons for making a tough change. If we just try to tell them all the reasons why they should change, guess what we humans do when someone tells us we ought to start exercising or stop smoking? We say, yeah, I know, but it's going to be tough to quit the smoking. I use this, nicotine for this and that. Or, yeah, I know I should exercise, but I don't have the time. It evokes and strengthens our resistance because we believe more strongly the reasons against that we present to demonstrate our ambivalence. So instead, what we need to do, and what counselors do if you really want to be an effective smoking cessation counselor, you got to work with somebody to help them get in touch with their internal motivation and affirm it back to them. Don't tell them they should. Tell them that they already care, obviously, and show them how they're capable of achieving this change. So that's what charismatic endpoints and our care counts is all about. It's trying to change this language into something more like this to lead to a lot more effective communication and ultimately action. It's grounded in personal psychology. When we hear ourselves affirming something, we say, that's part of my identity, and we take actions that are in touch and in accordance with our identity. And there's also the fact that when we hear and see that other people are taking action, we say, oh, that's people like me are doing helpful things. I can do that too. So it's extremely empowering. And the work partly involves connecting conservation biologists with life cycle assessment practitioners so we can tell people what's your bumblebee footprint and how can you have a bumblebee handprint that's even bigger than that. Finally, let's talk about resourcing these waves of positive action. And there are three concepts here: the rebound effect, save waves, and the future fund. All right, the rebound effect. It seems like good news. When you install an energy-saving device, it's a win-win, right? It's better for the environment, and it saves you money. Well, economists and sustainability analysts are here to tell you it's actually bad news, because you're going to save that money, and you're going to turn around and spend it on something else, or more of the same. And this is known to reduce the estimated benefits of an energy efficiency action by between 30 and 50%. Sometimes even more than that. So you think you're going to save all this electricity with your new LED light bulb, but you spend it on a Big Mac, and there goes the footprint reduction. What we need to do is harness the rebound to create an even bigger handprint. And that's what save waves are. They're about capturing a portion of the savings from an energy efficiency or resource efficiency investment and reinvesting that money to buy more handprints, to grow the handprint. And we do that in two ways. First, we pass it on to others, and I'll show why in a moment. And then we reinvest it in our own future footprint reductions. So we use that one light bulb to fuel a whole transformation of our consumption over time. So think of save waves as simply waves of positive action paid for by some of the savings that they generate. Some because some of those savings you get to keep. Now, how can we start these? This is a company called Human Scale. They make furniture for offices. Their furniture is certified sustainable, regenerative, and part of the way they do that is they create handprints bigger than the footprint of making the chairs. So Human Scale needs to basically catalyze handprints, and they're spending money on it. And then we've got the air curtain, like I told you about earlier, that actually has a climate payback time of just a few months. The climate benefits over its life more than pay for its footprint. So that's great handprint potential. Here's how we use that in the save wave. Human Scale gives a gift of energy savings to small businesses in the form of these air curtains, and the business says, okay, I accept that gift, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to assign a contract with the person or the business giving me the gift that says, yes, I will pocket 25% of those savings, thank you, as a gift to me and my business and my customers. I'll take the other 75% and do two things. First, pay this gift forward to another business who signs a contract with me. And secondly, I'll put that money into my own future fund that I can use to continuously invest in more energy efficiency. So if we look at how this unfolds over time, first you pay it forward to others, and then you pay it forward to yourself. You're benefiting from day one. Now, in order for this to scale rapidly, we need a third piece, which is an acceleration loan. So that when I receive a air curtain at my small business, I don't have to wait for a year or two for the savings to enable me to buy another air curtain to give to the next business. I can take out a low-interest loan, an acceleration loan, that enables me to pay it forward in 1 week or 1 month. In this way, if we could actually get the speed down to 1 week, we could have a save wave that reached the globe in 6 to 8 months. So the Future Fund is also a very powerful part of this. If you look out at the global economy right now, roughly 20 to 30% of our expenditure is inefficiency. Think of that as an inefficiency resource. It's the size of the US economy. Save waves are basically human beings collectively saying, that's it. We claim 20 to 30% of the global economy as a resource that we will use for collective good in societies and for the planet. We're going to just keep capturing more and more of that and keep reinvesting in an exponentially growing global effort to basically heal the planet and also significantly address income inequality. Now, any business should see this as basically an irresistible opportunity. They're going to benefit from the moment the money comes, the gift comes to them, and it grows exponentially. But they do have two other options, right? First, they could reject the gift. Then they don't have to sign a contract. If so, they lose because number one, they save less money, and employees and customers are going to probably be angry. Because this is about sharing benefits with the whole community, including the local community. They could also say, no thanks, I'm going to do it on my own. And that way they don't have to sign a contract. But if they don't reinvest all those savings in future benefits, their footprint won't go down exponentially. So again, these are locally irresistible actions because they cost nothing, they generate immediate benefits, and you're part of a global network of win-win. And this is important because right now we've kind of lost touch with the idea that something that benefits me can also benefit others, or more importantly, something benefiting others is also benefiting me. This makes it clear, and thank you very much.
All right, please give it up. Thank you. We do have a few minutes for questions. So if you have a question in the audience, please raise your hand up high, and we have a mic coming to you. Any questions? I will start with one question from my own side.
Sure.
So you spoke about the save waves, and it is such a different mindset that it was a little bit hard to grasp how it can work either in small scale and bigger scale. Maybe there's a story you can give us to exemplify and show how this already has worked in real life.
Yes. So we're just now launching the very first save wave, and it's literally human scale, purchasing 5 air curtains. We're giving those to local businesses in the town where I live. These business owners are, being helped by engineers to understand, here's how it goes. You receive this gift. It saves you energy. You just sign this commitment. It's officially called a gentleman's agreement. I wish it wasn't a sexist term like that, but an honorable agreement that says I'm going to, pay this forward and then I'm going to capture it. We use blockchain as the idea to make all of the impacts as well as the expenditures transparent. So everyone can verify Joe's Pizza over here is doing what they said they would. And it spreads. The thing is, anybody can launch a save wave anywhere. Just use the platform, find an investment that improves quality of life, saves people money, and reduces the human footprint.
Okay, beautiful. Any questions? Yes, can we have a mic here, please?
Yeah, hi. You said there was a special website. What do you love about the Earth? Is there a special place you protect? I either missed it or you have the URL.
You haven't missed it. So that's basically a goal, a dream. I skipped over the details of launching that project, but we feel that we really need to get the messaging. We need to make sure that the platform is 100% accessible globally to all people, in all languages and at different income and technology and literacy levels, because we want to hear from everyone. And secondly, we have to make sure that our messaging is not polarizing or accidentally helping half of the society feel that, oh, this is those people going at it again. It's a trick. So we're really careful about the messaging and making sure that this is something that basically every human being can embrace. And it's a project that's honestly still looking for funding to launch. I'll share these slides, and it gives more details about how we're going about it. There's a science piece and obviously a very important technology piece to it, and sociology.
All right. Thank you so much, Gregory. Let's give him a huge round of applause.
Thank you.